And here we're going to show you how the use of RECOVER LFT technology can be utilised in the future of investigating knife crime. In this demonstration here today, we're going to show you a couple of examples of knives which have been placed into different extreme environmental conditions, as they potentially could be in real-life casework applications. In this first example, we have actually buried some knives, as if the suspect is trying to hide the evidence. To mirror this, we're also placing a number of knives underwater. These knives are going to be placed within a pond environment for a week. During this period, we would expect all of the biological residue to disappear from the surface of the knife. But with RECOVER LFT technology, we can look for the corrosion in the metal that the finger mark leaves behind. One week later, the knives are recovered from the ground. Okay, we can see the knives being carefully removed, and with some areas actually covered in dirt at this point. We then also recover the two knives from the pond, and we can see that all knives have been attributed to some quite difficult environmental conditions. They're dirty. The ones from the pond are quite wet as well. We even have some plant debris as well from the samples in the pond. So the knives are cleaned down first to remove any dirt and debris from the surface of the knives. And the knives are placed within the RECOVER LFT instrument, ready for treatment. The instrument runs through an initialization phase before moving into the chamber conditioning phase, where we're actually creating a mild vacuum within the instrument. The samples can then be fumed before the chamber is purged at the end of the process. The lid will automatically rise, and we can then remove the samples. With these samples, we can now image the finger marks present on the knives under the DCS-5 system. So for this first example, we have the knife on our DCS-5 system. We're actually going to use a technique known as reflective UV to have a look to see if there's any finger marks on the knife. So in this example, we're going to use a Crime Light 82S UV. We have our Nikon D6 camera with our special 60mm UV lens and our UV bandpass filter on the end. Now if I simply shine my UV light source across the knife, we can actually start to see some finger marks appearing on the blade. Now with reflective UV, this is dependent on the angle of light, so that we can get the best contrast between the finger marks and the background. Now if I hold our UV light source in place and press preview, we then get a preview image of our finger marks across the blade of the knife. before we capture this, we can even preview in grayscale to see how our finger marks are going to look as black ridges on a light background. So for this, all we would need is some simple enhancement to improve the contrast. Maybe just analyse with our contrast, brightness, gamma controls here. Click apply, and our enhancement is applied to the image. And there are our final images of our finger marks on our knife blade after treatment with RECOVER. Okay, so for our next technique, we're going to try a different application on the DCS5 system. We're actually going to try coaxial illumination. And coaxial illumination is very, very good for items which are shiny and reflective in nature. So they're one of the techniques that we do actually recommend for use with RECOVER samples. Here we're going to actually turn on our FLS system. And we have our coax in place, and we're just going to shine simple white illumination onto our knife, and we can actually already clearly see the evidence of 2 finger marks appearing. But the key thing we're seeing here is we're not getting much reflection from the background, so we can see immediate contrast between the finger mark and the background, the shiny reflective nature of the knife. So if we just do some very simple changes to get this into focus, take a preview, okay, we can invert our preview so we can see how our finger mark is going to look in grayscale. You can already see a nice bifurcation here. And then once we're happy, we capture our evidence. Then it's just a case of perhaps some simple, again, adjustments using brightness, contrast, gamma to improve the contrast of this finger mark. Click apply, and there is our final sample.